Man, it's been hard, and it's been a minute because it's been hard and difficult, and I'm trying to figure all these things out and deal with my mental health, as well as edit a novel. And this moment between you and me has been fleeting, has been distanced, has been, I don't even know how to wellly articulate things because I've been using my mind for story and writing and getting in my own head so much that I can't even creatively tell you how I feel. But that is fine. That's okay. It's okay. We're getting through it. This is all part of the process. And I realize in the editing process, I had my first, not diva moment, but that first moment where I'm like, yeah, it's probably hard to work with an author if you're an editor, because they have feelings and they have very passionate responses. And sometimes they get unhinged a little bit. And I think I had that because I'm in chapter 8, or my editor's in chapter 8. And it was the first one where I missed, in his opinion. He used the word, it's the first time he'd recommend a complete rewrite. There's some plot holes that he thought were evidence now that might be earlier in the novel that I had to go back and fix, but in reality there weren't that many. It was more of a restructuring of it. And so I ended up breaking chapter 8 into chapter 7.5, 8, and 8.5 or something like that. So I parsed it out, and it works. But there are a couple of notes, that I did take and had to do, and it made it better. But I did have a lot of anger. Like, I was really upset and didn't respond the best that I could have responded. And we did end up having a conversation, and all is good. I had time to think about it and get my real thoughts out and explain where I thought he missed a point of the book that I put in there that I can't put in more explicitly because I don't want to. And it just was missed by him, but he's also reading it in a way that no one else will, really focus on the details, and it's probably going to miss some things. He's a human. So I have learned I have to, as the creative steward of this story, know what I will change and what I won't. What I will take from him and what I won't. He told me that. He's like, don't take all of my edits and put them into your story. Reflect on them and decide, you as a storyteller, what you want your story to be. He's just giving me this idea of, this is how it's coming across to me. But then I asked another reader, and it came across differently to him. And that I told him, I'm like, I don't know. Some of these things I don't think I should change because I should let my beta readers tell me if I need to change them. And even then, it might not be, because I might want you to feel angry. I might want you to feel annoyed with a character, and then relieve that tension. But it might go on too long for your comfort or for your taste, or it might not go long enough for this other person. So it's a weird dance. It's been very confusing, but I'm understanding it better through the process of working with the editor and having my first little mini freak out. But I think I communicated in person, through Zoom, pretty clearly, and we had a good consensus. He's like, you're a great writer. This can happen for you. I just want to make it the best it can be. I appreciate that, for sure. And so we're continuing on, and we'll see how chapter 9, 10, and 11 go. And that's the first round of edits that'll be done, and then we'll do the next block. So we're getting progress. We're getting there. And one note that he gave me that I want to share is, my main character, you never want your main character to not be likable, but the way I did this story, the first 5 chapters, Bram, except for the first chapter, you get to see him a little bit. After that chapter, he goes away in a lot of ways because he's in this frozen hellscape with nothing and, no one, and it's just white blankets of snow and ice, and it's not very sensory. So there's some internal stuff, but the real beats are not getting to know this guy and why you should care about him. I want you to know his suffering. I want you to feel that suffering so that when I do relieve that tension, it's a payoff. Like you are ready to see who this person is, but from his perspective, he might not understand why. And then he meets some other character and like, oh, this is really interesting. But Bram, I'm not really understanding why I should care about him. That's a challenge for my story because it's intentional. Because I wanted to tell a story where you don't necessarily care about the main character until later. Not on page 1, not on page 70 necessarily. I don't know the exact page number. I'm just saying you should care about him. Okay, I want you to care about him, but I don't want you to understand fully who he is. I want you to feel for his suffering. And that was a risk, and I know that. So we'll see how it pays off, especially in beta reading. But after chapter 6, spoiler alert, it starts to open up more. And that's where I'm now saying, okay, shift focus, make sure everything, all the lines meet his want and his need and his wound and all of these things. And I've got to go back through that because I flowed through it and didn't necessarily consider how Bram or anybody else would react based on this character sheet. So I got to make sure I tighten all that up and add some moments and things like that. So it's all going better. Everything's getting better. After this round of edits, I'll go back through, probably tighten that up by my own read through, really focusing on lines. And if I made promises that I didn't deliver on, because that's a big fear of mine, is I set up a promise here in chapter 5, chapter 8, and I didn't ever deliver on that promise of giving you the information, or what do I hold back? So I'm figuring it all out. It was a hell of a week. Really struggled mentally this week and trying to figure out what I need to do differently. So I stepped away from writing for 3 days and I'm reset. I don't know if I'm going to get back to it today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the next round of edits for chapter 9 and finish up my video for chapter 4 to see chapter 8, video 4 for chapter 8, where it's more of a structural edit suggestion, and see if I have to make any more changes to chapter 8, but I'm not quite done with that one. So that's what I'm going to do. I might finish that video. I might do some editing, but then I'm not going to touch it until I get chapter 9 revised statement video, and then we'll go from there. But I'm trying to figure out how to balance mental health, physical health, creative health, all while we're juggling, and how do I do that? And how do I support my family, my kids, my wife, and all of their stresses? Because I'm not the only one stressed here. We all have stress, and sometimes we all do at the same time, and it's big stuff. So really trying hard to figure all that out. It's a balancing act, guys. You know it. It's not always easy. It rarely is, I suppose, when we get stressed, but sometimes it is. And those are great moments because you can just power through things and groove through them, solve the problems, and it's great. I'm doing okay. Just want to point that out. I struggle all the time. This is not new to me in my life. It's been a lifelong thing where I've had these creative inspirations and these big struggles, but I'm trying to get some of that stuff figured out because as I've done all this work to help myself, heal myself, therapy and all these things persist, and I got to figure out what those are so I know how to work with them. It's not a limitation that says I can't do something. It's an understanding of self that once you know the archetype or the architecture of your brain and hormones and emotional state, you can work with it. You can see it coming. You can bring in things that help prevent those problems. But when you have them, you can give more grace to yourself because you know exactly what's happening. You can name it, and it's a lot easier to deal with the villain that you can name than the one that you can't even see. So doing good, on the path, walking it. It's hard sometimes, but who doesn't have hard times? But I'm grateful to have finished this novel. I'm grateful to be in the edits. I want it to be something that you guys will enjoy and something I'm proud of and I can release to you. That's going to be a huge threshold moment for me. So thank you for being on the journey with me. Hope you come back to the next video. And until then, journey well, my friends.